Vaccin COVID-19 sa yo, c'est une solution importante pour protéger tête ou et puis pour mettre fin à pandémie ça.
Mais, ou capable de question sur sécurité vaccin.
Se même mesure sécurité yo te utilisé pour tout l'autre vaccin yo. Se yo tout yo te suivre pour vaccin COVID-19 yo.
Il y a des dizaines de milliers de monde qui ont participé dans l'essai vaccin COVID-19 ça yo, et le résultat a prouvé que yo sain et sauf.
Depuis les sato, il y a plusieurs millions de monde, différentes races et ethnicités qui prennent vaccin. Et puis c'est un petit malaise tout petit yo te gagné.
Moi te prends vaccin pour me protéger tête moi, famille et patient yo.
Les tout pour l'arrivée, pas hésiter. Fais la médecine confiance. Prends vaccin.
I'm welcoming viewers around the world, viewers all over the social media, and viewers in Massachusetts. My name is Ronald and I'm hosting the show called Integration. Integration is the show bringing to you through the partnership between Mosaic Public Media and MCTV in Boston. The show is bringing to you all guests who can talk and explain to the audience about their work, about what they're doing in the community, so the community can understand resources and services they provide in order to improve life of individuals in their community. So today it's an honor for me to have with us ALDA WITHERSPOON. Welcome, ALDA.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. And we invited ALDA to our platform because she's a phenomenal woman and she has been doing a lot of things. And ALDA, how about you let the audience of MCTV know who is ALDA?
ALDA is a poet, playwright, producer. I do directing, I do plays. I have a institute called the Witherspoon Institute. We teach leadership, etiquette, and arts development to children ages 6 to 23. We do all kinds of manner of performing, but I like to say that we're fostering the new generation of storytellers who sing, dance, act, direct, and produce.
Well, thank you. It's pretty, brief, and it means a lot, like, the work you've been doing. So talk about the Witherspoon Institute. So how your involvement and how you went about to, I think you are the founder, right?
Yes. So in 2006, while I was still public arts director for the city of Boston, I started this institute because I saw a need in the community. I was working with an organization, some mothers group called Jack and Jill, and we presented a children's ball. And that year was so phenomenal that the community was really engaged and involved, and they wanted us to do it again. So I decided to formally present the Witherspoon Institute to teach the leadership etiquette and ballroom dance, and that's how we started. So for the first 5 years, that was our program. I was known for doing children's balls. But after a while, I began to realize that a lot of the children that gravitated towards that also sang, they also acted, they also danced. So I decided to incorporate a more broader scheme, and I began to focus on presenting them not only on stage through my plays that I write, because I'm a playwright, they also presented well on video. So I started to do film as well.
Okay. So how long the Institute has been around?
Since 2006, we're 16 years old.
16 years old. And how the experience, has been the experience? Like, I know they're probably upside down and stuff like that, but how you maintain, the let's say the stamina, the energy to continue and do, the work to the Institute?
Somehow folks just keep asking me to do work, I keep getting commissioned by various organizations. My church commissioned me to do a play about the birth of Christ, so I wrote this musical called Unto This House, The King of Kings is Born. We presented that for 3 years before COVID hit. It was magnificent because I had an 82-year-old gentleman and I had, little 6 and 4-year-olds dancing, right? So I had this wide spectrum of generational wealth from the community presenting at Hibernian Hall, who was also a co-sponsor. My church, New Hope Baptist Church, originally commissioned me to do it as a Women's Day offering, but it was so popular that they decided we should take it to the stage into the community, and so that's what we did. And then after that, I got commissioned by the city of Boston to produce a play called Wise, the musical, and so I wrote all the music and all that stuff, and we presented that at the Tobin Center, who was the presenting sponsor for that. So once they, I keep getting commissioned for these works, then I draw the community in, I train them up, I put them on the stage, and voila.
Wow, that's great. So all the viewers, this is the show Integration. You are listening from MCTV, and my name is Ronald Bernard, and I'm the host of the show. So we continue our dialogue with ALDA Witherspoon. So ALDA, I believe there is a project you are working on right now, and that sounds huge. So would you mind to let the audience, share it with the audience so they can understand, what is Book Ban, right? This is the name of the project.
Yes. So at the Witherspoon Institute, we have an initiative called SLIP, Strategic Leadership Investment Plan. Originally, we fostered it as a call to arms for the Haitian earthquake when that first hit. And we were trying to explain to the children what is an earthquake, when children are in plight across the world or even your next door neighbor, that you should lend a hand. So we started doing these squares at the Boys and Girls Club to do a quilt. And that became very popular. So Simon Mall decided they wanted to sponsor us. So we started to go to all the malls across Massachusetts. And that went really well. And I said, I should take this to another level. I said, I should go to the United Nations. So that's what we did.
Wow.
So I ended up at the United Nations with a lot of help from, Senator Kerry and Marie St. Fleur was a huge sponsor, as well as Linda Dosina Foray. So they all, wrapped their arms around me and helped lift us up. And so we went to the United Nations. We had 7 states, the top states that the Haitian community comes from, all came. We had 3 continents come. We had people flying from Haiti. We had Mayor Dinkins, who was the former mayor of New York. He was our keynote speaker. So it was a huge 2-day event. The first day was a youth summit, and the second day was a international prayer breakfast. So that's how SLIP was born. Okay. So when I was deciding to write a book, to talk about my history as poet laureate for the city of Boston. It's called The Seed of My Whisper. And my publicist said, why don't you invite some other people to go on your tour with you? And I said, that's an interesting concept. So I went to bed, and when I woke up, I said, I've got to name it something different. I'm going to call it Book Ban. Okay. And she was like, I like that title. She said, well, why don't you cross off the N-E and add, an X across it, so it's still Book Ban, but then we can talk a little bit about, books being banned and so forth. And I said, I really like that idea. So I expanded that concept to include that. So Book Ban was born, and so I started getting on the phone. I started telling people about the project, and before I know it, I had a whole host committee, a steering committee of which you are a member. I know Donald Rankins pulled you in. Yay, Donald! Yeah. I need my champions, and he pulls, and various different people from the committee continue to pull people in. Steve Marks just joined today. He's a BNN fella. You may know him from Public Access in the city of Boston. He does a lot of great work on this program called Around Town. So people are starting to join. And so it's really a big phenomena because I was on the horn with Tiffany Jadot. She is a Harvard University professor interested in helping us with Book Ban. And she said, I know that you've been looking at a lot of numbers. 21% of the population in the U.S. is actually illiterate or functionally illiterate.
Yeah.
And I was like, ugh. And she said, yeah, and post-COVID, she said, I could share some numbers with you because it's gotten worse, right?
Yeah.
So there's a real need for book ban because although we're going on tour, which we are going to follow Oprah Winfrey's 125 Black-owned bookstores across America as our model. And we're starting off in Atlanta, Georgia on May 5th, 2023, followed by going to Tampa, Florida. Then we're going to New Orleans and then Memphis. Then we'll fly all the way out to LA and take our tour bus in the opposite direction to Arizona and so forth, like that. And we'll land in Brooklyn, New York. Okay. So it's quite a big undertaking. We are going to have a whole plethora of people on our bus. We are fortunate enough to be sponsored by Darryl Thompson. He and his family decided to actually pay for the tour bus, pay for the hotels, and become a sponsor in 3 of the cities. So I was like, wow. And that's an incredible story because again, I'm keeping this conversation going, and I hope your listeners, are listening to me. If you can hear my voice, we are welcoming other people to become host members. We need more and more people to help us with book ban. It's quite a big undertaking, teaching children how to read, and even adults. We have adult programs, to help foster literacy in America, because this is a travesty. A quarter of our population can't read or write. It's really tragedy, and it affects everything, right? From healthcare, a lot of times people can't read medications, so they may take them improperly. In education, of course, also generational literacy. Very often, if the parents can't read, the children end up not reading as well. So reading at home is like really huge. Also, crime. They find that out of 5 inmates, 3 of them are illiterate or functionally illiterate. So if you can't read or write, you tend to take up a life of crime because you can't function within the confines of, society. So it affects many areas in the
I like the term you mentioned. You say functionally illiterate. So how do you describe someone who is functionally illiterate?
So you may be able to write your name, you may be able to count, to 10, but you may not be able to multiply or, divide, or, you may know small words like cat and dog, but if you say, I went to the store and when I got there, unfortunately, she didn't have the food that I needed, so your sentence structures, are very short and concise. And then some people fool you, right? Yeah. So you'll go to the bank and they'll hand you a document and you'll say, well, I was going over your literature, which you never read because you don't know how to read. Could you explain it to me? So then the person will explain to you what the document says. So they have these little tricks to, you think that they're educated, but they're not. So I was talking to an attorney friend of mine and she said, I really do believe that because a lot of the people I know, when I send them a contract, all of a sudden they can't function anymore. It's like, it just becomes overwhelming, and I have to really break down sentence by sentence by sentence. She said, but up until that point, they could explain to you what the situation is. So that's a functionally illiterate person. They're kind of making it through society, and they have these little tricks, but in actuality, they can't really read documents.
Okay. So the plan I see for book ban, it's like the tour 2023. So what is after 2023? What's happening?
So book ban is actually a 3-year project. So we're going to 18 cities the first year. We'll do another, I think, 12 the next year, and then we'll finish up with, I think, 7 or 8 the final year. Okay.
And so when you say you finished, is it gonna be I don't know, festival, or what's we gonna do? When you say the project gonna be ended, what's next?
So the project is a weekend project. Okay. Every city that we go to, it's a 3-day offering. It's really a book exposition. Okay. So when you arrive, we have a ball. We have a ball called the Indigo Ball. Okay. And it's a blue jean festival, right? So people are going to dress in, fanciful blue jeans. And the reason why I decided to focus on blue jeans is that one of the things I found through our research is the plant indigo comes from West Africa. And so when many of the enslaved people that came here, you know, in the 1700s and even the 1500s, they bought this plant called the indigo plant. It's very blue, right? And so when they made these clothes for themselves to have out into the fields, they dyed it this blue that they bought from their country. And so originally, before cotton, before rice, indigo was the most prime plant that was here in America, and so much so that it became currency for many of the states in the South. So that's how blue jeans were born. So that's why we're having the Blue Jean Ball. We're passing out indigo awards to many of the writers who are the mid-level writers. So somebody like me or you who write a book, we're going to have the bookstores be the central location where people can go and nominate their best authors for the last 2 years. You have to have written your book in the last 2 years. And then they can nominate you. And then during the summer, we'll announce that in May who the nominees are. And then finally in August in New York, we will announce who the winners are based off how many people voted for you. So it's more or less a People's Choice Awards. But it's a, you know, follows a big gambit. So anything from history to crime novels to romance novels. We have many different categories that we will be looking at in terms of that. And then we have another tier that we want to look at for celebrities. Because, you know, many of the celebrities write books, so celebrity biographies and celebrity written children's books. We want to focus on that, so we'll give another level away to celebrity artists as well.
And for instance, I believe there are many people who kind of, they have desire to be, you know, a writer and stuff like that. And I believe they are very fascinated while they listen to us talking about book band. So how either how they can involve in terms of with book band and the Witherspoon Institute, how they can either find resources to help them to move in this path if they desire, you know.
They can visit our website. Our website is www.thewitherspooninstitute.org. It has all of the sites that we'll be visiting. If they want to call me, I can tell them how to get into the whole book genre. I've done a lot of research around it because I'm self-publishing my own book. And it's being followed up by a second book that I'm writing called AKA Spoon, which is about my grandfather. That I'm going to actually produce next year and release it on Juneteenth. Because the beginning of the book actually starts on Juneteenth, the very first one in the 1863, when my great-grandfather first, you know, was freed, and he went to Little Rock, Arkansas. So there's a whole story about that I'll tell you at another time. But my first book I'm going to release in September. It's just to sort of get the ball rolling. But basically, I haven't even been working on my books lately because I'm so busy with book band and offering this to other authors to come and be a part of it that, you know, my project's like getting further and further pushed away.
So in your first book, so what is the message that you're trying to put out to the public?
So,
although it's not out yet.
Right. It's an anthology, so it encompasses my poetry, prose, because, again, I was Poet Laureate for the City of Boston for 19 years, and so I did a great deal of work around MLK, so I have a lot of writings around that. And then it has excerpts from my plays, Before You Plant the Seed, Derek Walcott from Boston University. He did the first presentation of that particular play, and then but my very first play was produced by Terrell Calloway out of Boston, a well-known producer, called Back to Black Women, and then you know, it followed on to another one and another one. So I have all kinds of different excerpts from my different plays in there. So, but the word Before You Plant the Seed and the Seed of My Whisper comes really from my thoughts of when I talk to God. He's always the seed. And then I begin to meditate on what he tells me. and before I know it, the flower blooms into the pot, and then the pot becomes a tree, and then the tree becomes a garden. And so there I have it, before you plant the seed, and the seed of my whisper.
Well, that's very nice way, to explain it. And the public, you still listening to Integration, and Integration is the show bringing to you to the partnership between Mosaic Public Media and MCTV Boston. So we are glad we continue to talk with ALDA Witherspoon. So we continue with this conversation. And ALDA, so in terms of the Witherspoon Institute, does Witherspoon Institute do project in partners with either other organizations or their I don't know, with schools, do you work in kind of like partnership in some projects?
Absolutely. Everything that I do is in partnerships. So Back to Black Women, that was produced by Terrell Calloway. So that was with Calloway Productions. Then my second plays I did with Boston University, right? So then the third play, I did with Northeastern University with Obie Award-winning producer, director there. So each one of them always has, a hook into a organization, with some affiliation, and then the City of Boston, of course, with WISE, and then my church with Unto This House, along with Hibernian Hall. So I always working in concert with people from the community. It's for the community, by the community. It's all about fostering our gifts and our talents, and developing us into, people of our higher self. Because no matter what you do, you could be an accountant, but you can sing. So you still want to share your gifts with people. You don't necessarily have to be a professional that's what you do all day. It wasn't until recently that I retired from the state, along with the City of Boston, that I'm now doing Witherspoon Institute full-time, but up until this point, I was working full-time, I was writing full-time, so I would get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning to write before I went to work, and then at lunchtime, I'd write, and then after work, I'd write. So, you just have to find a rhythm on what works with you for whatever phase you are in your life. But now I'm fortunate enough to, having gathered resources to fully put both feet on, what my dream is, basically, the Witherspoon Institute, and, fostering my gifts through writing.
Okay, and how would you say your life, like, as an author? Like, what is, like, kind of fascinated about this, like...
The process?
The process.
I like research, I find.
Okay.
With the AKA Spoon, even though it's based on my family, I still had to research the time frame. When Lincoln put out the Emancipation Proclamation. So that one follows really the historical timeline of America. It talks about when America first got its lights put on, when we first got cars, when we first got our stores, when, just the evolution of this country coming into effect. And then with WISE, the musical, that one's based off of MIT, these children that become basically superheroes, but it's really about your own superpowers that they kind of soup up. So they would go all around the world and find the most brilliant young people and find out what their gifts are and then augment that, right? So that's basically what I do with the Witherspoon Institute. Take, the gifts and talents and, foster that to its highest zenith. Okay,
that's pretty good. So in terms of like, we are almost like in the end of this this dialogue, and we are glad you come to our platform, although it is the first time. So what you can say to the viewers, like, who are listening, especially like we know you, the Witherspoon Institute and Book Band, and if you can like summarize just a message you would like to share with the audience.
So Book Band is really about finding your voice inside and asking each individual, whether they be children, because we have children authors at Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta who's partnering with us down there. They have 12 authors already. So can you imagine being, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old and you're already a book author. I mean, like, that is so amazing. So it's really about fostering the voice in all of us and finding that story that's inside of you. And each one of us has our own unique story that we would like to tell. And so I invite you to become an author and to tell your story and to join Book Band. Get on the bus.
Okay. So thank you, ALDA, to be on our platform. And we believe that it's not the last time. We're going to have you more often so you can talk more about other projects that might be going on. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And all the viewers, it's a pleasure for me to present this show, Integration. It's your servant. My name is Ronald Bernard.
Vaccin COVID-19 sa yo, c'est une solution importante pour protéger tête ou et puis pour mettre fin à la pandémie ça.
Mais, ou capable de question sur sécurité vaccin.
Se même mesure sécurité yo te utilisé pour tout l'autre vaccin yo. Se yo tout yo te suivre pour vaccin COVID-19 yo.
Il y a des dizaines de milliers de monde qui ont participé dans l'essai vaccin COVID-19 sa yo et le résultat a prouvé que yo sain et sauf.
Depuis les sato, il y a plusieurs millions de monde, différentes races et ethnicités qui prennent vaccin. Et puis c'est un petit malaise tout petit yo te gagné.
Moi te prends vaccin pour me protéger tête moi, famille et patient yo.
Les tout pour l'arrivée, pas hésiter. Fais la médecine confiance. Prends vaccin.